Good afternoon. So we'll be discussing the continuation of our previous class. It includes mechanism of enzyme action. I'm Dr. Swatika, assistant professor at Department of Biochemistry. So moving on to the mechanism of enzyme action, we need to summarize what is the structure of an enzyme. So, an active site of an enzyme is a structure in the enzyme, which is the region which binds with the substrate, cofactors, and phosphatic and it contains residues that are complementary to the substrate. And it has got its own specific shape, which is contributed by the tertiary structure. So any change in the shape of the protein will affect the active site and thereby the functionality of enzyme. Active site can also be further divided into binding site and catalytic site. Binding site, it chooses the substrate and it binds it to the active site. Catalytic site, it performs the catalytic action of an enzyme. Mechanism of enzyme action is basically explained by two perspectives. One is thermodynamic changes. The second one is processes which are happening at the active site. Thermodynamic changes. What are the thermodynamic changes which can happen by enzyme catalyst reaction or enzyme catalyst reaction? All the chemical reactions will have their own energy barriers between reactants. The difference in energy between the transitional state and the substrate free energy is called as the activation barrier. Here you can see already we have seen such a same kind of diagram. Here you can see the reactants are nothing but a substrate. The x-axis gives the progress of the reaction and y-axis gives the free energy of the molecules. So this is the free energy stage of the substrate. So here you can see the blue color is the energy state attained by the transitional state of reaction where the enzyme have no catalytic action, and the violet color is the enzyme catalyzed reaction where this is the energy state acquired with the transition state of an enzyme catalyzed reaction. So here, whatever it is, either it is an uncatalyzed reaction or an enzyme catalyzed reaction, the difference between the substrate free energy and the transitional state free energy is called as the activation barrier. We want the molecules which are participating in the reaction to overcome this activation barrier so that it can ultimately result in product. So what happens during the thermodynamic changes which are happening in a reaction is that only a few substances will be able to cross the activation barrier and change into product. That is why rate of uncatalyzed reaction is much slow as compared to enzyme catalyzed reaction. Whereas enzymes provide an alternate pathway for conversion of substrates into products. They accelerate the rate of the reaction by forming a transition state which has got a lower activation energy or activation barrier as compared to the uncatalyzed reaction. Hence, the reaction rate is increased many-fold in presence of enzyme. But the total energy remains the same and the equilibrium state is not disturbed. Here you can see two pictures where the person exerts so much effort to roll down this log of wood or whatever over the hill. So here the net energy released from splitting of lactose, whatever, from transferring this compound or this heavy weight from this side to that side. This is the ultimate product which we need. The net energy released is here, and this is the activation energy required for that person to uphill and then transfer that compound downside. Whereas if there is an enzyme, the hill is reduced to a small, and so he can easily transfer that from the other side to the other side. What are the processes which are happening at the active site which favors enzyme catalysis? Covalent catalysis, catalysis by proximity, acid-base catalysis, and catalysis by strain. Covalent catalysis. Here what happens? Enzyme will form covalent linkage substrates, forming a transient enzyme substrate complex with very low activation energy. This enzyme substrate complex which is formed in an enzyme catalyzed reaction has got low activation. And at the end of the reaction, you will get back the free enzyme. Okay. So acid-base catalysis is mostly undertaken by oxidoreductase enzyme. So here what happens, mostly at the active site, histidine is present, which acts as both proton donor and proton acceptor and favors redox reaction at the active site. Catalysis by proximity. In this catalysis molecule, this catalysis, molecules must come in bond forming instances. That is, they'll come in as opposed to each other, such that because of proximity, the substrates will bind together or cleave, whatever will happen based upon the reaction, and it will result in formation of product. So when an enzyme binds a region of high substrate concentration is produced at the active site. So this will orient the substrate molecules which are participating in the reaction in a position ideal for them to participate in catalysis. Catalysis by bond strain. It is mostly undertaken by lyases. So the enzyme substrate binding, what will it do is that it will cause a reorientation of the structure of the site due to the strain, because the substrate has got some distortion or strain or whatever, distortion of bond, there will be reorientation of the structure of site. So the transitional state is thus required in case of catalysis to, and the bond is eventually broken due to. In that way, the bond between the substrate is broken and it can be converted into product. Here you can see in the picture, the green color is not substrate, which will come and bind with the active site of the enzyme. What happens due to some conformational changes induced by the substrate into the enzyme after binding will favor breaking, will induce a strain in the substrate, because the substrate has to again accommodate itself into the active site of the enzyme, right? So that will induce a strain in the bond which is formed between the two components of the substrate and will result in breaking of the bond, and eventually products will be released. And this product structure or the residues present products are not complementary to the enzyme. Hence, they will have decreased affinity towards the enzyme, thereby releasing the products. The next one is by metal ion catalysis. Metal ion catalysis, there will be a formation of ternary complex. There is a 3-component complex. This formed as follows. Either it can be an enzyme substrate metal ion complex, which example for this category is kinases, or enzyme metal ion and substrate complex. Example for this is carboxypeptidase A and alkaline phosphatase. The third is metal ion enzyme substrate complex. Example for this is pyruvate kinase. And there will be a cyclic metal rich complex which constitutes enzyme metal ion and substrate in a cyclic way. The basic mechanism of metal ion catalysis is the metal ion can act as either electrophiles or neurophiles, or they can share electrons, or they provide orientation for enzyme catalysis. Next, we'll move on to enzyme regulation. So, enzyme regulation, what is the definition of enzyme regulation? It is a process by which the cell can turn on or turn off or modulate the activity of various metabolic pathways by regulating the activity of enzyme. That is, we don't want both anabolism and catabolism, or anabolic pathway or catabolic pathway occurring at the same time whenever. So whenever the energy is required in a cell, we want glycolysis to happen. Whenever there is adequate energy in a cell, we don't want glycolysis, rather we want glycogen synthesis. That is, glucose which is available will be stored in glycogen, stored as glycogen for further use, for future use. So this is brought about by enzyme regulation. Whenever needed, enzyme can be turned on. Whenever not needed, enzyme can be turned off. Enzyme regulation is very essential control the activity of enzyme in order to regulate the metabolic activities in the cell. So enzyme regulation, what it does is it will permit the changing needs of the cell to meet its energy and resource needs. So enzyme regulation basically will be based on the cellular metabolic demands. That is what it means. So basically, what are regulatory enzymes? So in any cell during a metabolic activity, many enzymes will work together synchronously and sequentially to carry out the required metabolic process. So in such a condition, where more steps or multiple steps of involved, the reaction product of one enzymatic actor, enzymatic reaction, that is the reaction product of the previous reaction will act as a substrate for the subsequent reaction. So here in this case, in a multi-step enzymatic process, what is the definition of a regulatory enzyme is that there will be one enzyme which will be responsible for overall rate of that process, overall rate of that particular metabolic. That critical rate limiting enzyme is also called as regulatory enzyme. So this regulatory enzyme would show increased or enhanced or decreased catalytic activity in response to other molecules or signals which are delivered to the cell. So based on the stimuli or signal which is actually received from the external environment, the cell will respond to that by either increasing the activity of regulatory enzyme or decreasing the activity of regulatory enzyme. So in a multi-step metabolic pathway, which enzyme will actually have so many steps, right? So which enzyme basically will act as the key regulatory enzyme or a rate limiting enzyme? Almost in all the metabolic pathways, the first enzyme of multi-step metabolic pathway will act as a regulatory enzyme. So the first reaction is the perfect place to regulate or control a metabolic pathway. So if there is no need for the ATP production itself, you just regulate the glycolytic pathway at the very most first step, because downstream pathways require more of energy to be consumed to make it happen. So we don't want energy to be wasted. So in that case, we always want the first reaction to be the rate limiting step so that further downstream reactions doesn't happen whenever there is no requirement. So that is what they have explained. So what are the mechanism of enzyme regulation? First one is allosteric regulation. Second one is reversible covalent modification. Third one is proteolytic cleavage. Fourth one is feedback regulation. Fifth one is regulation by isoenzymes. So allosteric enzyme regulation. So what is allosteric enzyme regulation? Allosteric enzymes are also a class of regulatory enzymes. So what is its definition? What is meant by allosteric regulation? It is a type of enzyme regulation whereby there will be a reversible, as I had already said, covalent interactions are very strong forces. Non-covalent interactions are comparatively a weak force. Allosteric regulation is a type of enzyme regulation which is brought about by reversible non-covalent binding of regulatory molecules to the enzyme. What happens? There will be a weak binding of regulatory molecules. Apart from the substrates, we have certain molecules called as allosteric modulators, or also called as allosteric effectors. So these are the regulatory molecules which will bind to the enzyme by weak non-covalent interaction. So what do they mean by that is, we have an site in enzyme where the substrates come and bind. That is called as active site. We all know that. Apart from the active site, we also have certain sites in the enzyme, which is called as allosteric site. So this allosteric site is the site where these regulatory molecules, which are nothing but allosteric modulators or allosteric effectors, will come and bind and will change the conformation of the enzyme, and thereby making the enzyme inactive, or making the enzyme not fit to favor the catalysis, to perform the catalysis. So conformational changes which are induced by the allosteric modulators will produce either more active or less active forms of the enzyme. So if it produce more active forms of the enzyme, it can be the modulator which will favor more active form of enzyme is called as stimulatory allosteric modulators. If it is going to result in less active forms of the enzyme, these are called as inhibitory allosteric modulators. So there are two types of allosteric enzyme based on the nature of the modulator. Either they can be homotropic allosteric modulators or heterotropic allosteric. I'm sorry, there are two types of allosteric enzymes which are based on nature of the modulator. Either they can be homotropic allosteric enzymes or heterotropic allosteric enzymes. So in many of the cases, substrate they themselves will act as the modulator. So we don't need another allosteric molecule and another allosteric site. In some conditions, there will be different. So allosteric enzymes where which are having allosteric enzymes in which their substrate and modulators are same are called as homotropic allosteric enzymes. So here what happens, the binding of modulator will induce a conformational change in the enzyme that will affect the subsequent enzymatic activity. If the modulator is some other molecule other than the substrate, if the enzymes which are under its regulation is called as heterotropic allosteric enzyme. Allosteric modulators, they are not competitive or non-competitive. They are totally a different entity as compared to competitive or non-competitive inhibitors. Allosteric enzymes, they will possess one or more regulatory allosteric. Allosteric sites are the sites where the modulator or allosteric effector will come and similarly, similar to substrates, modulator and modulatory binding site on enzyme are complementary to each other and are very specific, similar to substrate and substrate binding site or active site of the enzyme. Most of the allosteric enzymes are usually larger and more complex than non-allosteric enzymes. Hence, they will possess multiple subunits. So here you can see in the first picture, the blue color structure is the regulatory subunit or allosteric subunit, and the green color structure is the catalytic subunit. So, in the absence of modulator, the substrate, which is triangular in shape, cannot bind with the rectangular active site of the catalytic subunit of the enzyme. Whereas, whenever a modulator will come and bind the regulatory subunit, there will be a conformational change in the enzyme, which is induced in the catalytic subunit of the enzyme, enabling the binding of the triangular substrate in the triangular active site of the enzyme. This is how allosteric regulation takes place. So we'll see examples of allosteric regulation of enzyme. Aspartate transcarbamylase, which catalyzes an early reaction in the biosynthesis of pyrimidine nucleotides, is an example of allosteric regulation of enzyme. So in most of the allosteric enzymes, we can say like heterotropic allosteric enzymes, substrate binding site and modulator binding sites are on different subunits. So substrate binding site is called as catalytic subunit or C subunit. Modulator binding site subunit is called as regulatory subunit or R subunit. So if a binding of positive or stimulatory modulator to a specific site on regulatory subunit will be communicated to the catalytic subunit by way of conformational change in the enzyme structure. So this will help in activation of catalytic subunit. Activation will enable the binding of substrate with higher affinity. So what happens when a modulator will come and bind with the regulatory subunit, there will be a conformational change in the enzyme. So which will induce catalytic subunit conformational change, enabling the binding of substrate to the catalytic subunit with a more affinity. So once the modulator will dissociate from the regulatory subunit, the enzyme will revert back to its inactive or less active form. Allosteric enzymes will show variation in enzyme kinetic parameters, but they do not necessarily follow Michaelis-Menten kinetics. Allosteric enzymes will not show the usual hyperbolic curve, like we have already seen in our previous class, right? There are some factors which are influencing the enzyme activity. So one of the factors is substrate concentration. What we read is in the initial, when there is an initial rise in substrate concentration, velocity of reaction will also increase. But once all the enzyme molecules are saturated with the substrate molecules, what happens? There will be decrease in, like there will be saturation. Will reach a plateau, and there will be saturation of enzymes, and the rate of reaction will form a plateau. So the maximal velocity which is attained by occupying all the enzyme molecules in the substrate is the Vmax. Initial velocity is V0. Whereas this allosteric enzymes will not necessarily follow the hyperbolic curve. Rather, they form a sigmoid curve. That is, when the velocity is plotted against substrate concentration, it will form a sigmoid curve. That is, once what it means is that there will be increased positive association. So one molecule comes and binds to the one molecule will come and bind to the regulator subunit. It will increase substrate binding, and further modulator binding. It will increase the further rise in binding of substrate to the enzyme molecule with higher activity. So here it forms a sigmoid curve. Feedback inhibition is a type of allosteric regulation. So what is basically a feedback inhibition? Feedback inhibition and feedback regulation are two different terms. Feedback inhibition is a special type of allosteric enzymatic activity regulation mechanism in cells. So you would have studied in your previous classes or in your school standards where there is a thing called feedback inhibition. That is, the product will go and inhibit the upstream steps in a pathway, or it will go and inhibit the upstream metabolic enzyme, whatever it is. So here in multi-enzyme pathway, what happens? The regulatory enzyme is specifically inhibited by the end product of the pathway whenever the concentration of the end product exceeds the cell's requirements. Here, what happens if the energy is not required? Glycolysis need not be formed, right? So what happens when there is more of pyruvate, or you can say the first step of glycolysis, the glucose is phosphorylated to glucose 6-phosphate. So when there is more of glucose 6-phosphate, it will go and inhibit the enzyme which favors its formation. There is hexokinase. Thereby, what happens? The glucose conversion phosphorylation is inhibited. So it is an example of feedback inhibition. So when the reaction, regulatory enzyme reaction is slowed, all subsequent enzymes operate at reduced rates as their substrates are also depleted. So when the end product is formed in the multi-step pathway, it will go and inhibit the first reaction or the rate limiting reaction. So when that is slowed, all the other subsequent enzymes will also be operating at a reduced rate. So the rate of the production of pathways end product is thereby brought into balance with the cell's rate. This type of regulation is, which inhibits the first enzyme of the multi-enzymatic pathway, is called as feedback inhibition. So enzyme regulation by covalent modification. We have so many modes of covalent modification. Here you can see some of the examples. One is by phosphorylation. That is, enzyme will be phosphorylated. And some enzymes will undergo adenylation. That is, an adenyl group will be added to an enzyme. Or uridylation. Uridine group will be added from uridine diphosphate or triphosphate. Or it can be ADP ribose. ADP ribose will be added to the enzyme to favor its activation or inactivation. Methylation. The methyl group will be added to the enzyme. So here you can see on the right side, on the left side, all these are inactive enzymes. Whereas when we add certain molecules by covalent interaction, it will activate the enzyme. But phosphorylation, like in some metabolic pathways, some enzymes are activated by phosphorylation. whereas some enzymes are inactivated by phosphorylation. Proteolytic activation of enzymes. So how do proteolytic cleavage of enzyme will act as regulatory mechanism? So enzymes which are regulated by proteolytic cleavage method are basically first produced in their synthetic site where at the point of synthesis as zymogens or inactive forms. So it is due to the fact that either the active site will be masked or covered by a part of polypeptide chain. Whereas inactivity is basic of zymogen is basically because active site where the substrate will come and bind and will favor the reaction is being masked or covered by a polypeptide chain. So they later they are converted into active enzyme by way of proteolytic cleavage. So the specific cleavage will cause a conformational change that will expose the active site of the enzyme. So this type of activation is basically irreversible. So once the enzyme is activated, it cannot be reverted back into original inactive states. So all the proteolytic enzymes of stomach and pancreas are regulated by proteolytic cleavage mechanism. Examples for this are chymotrypsinogen to chymotrypsin, trypsinogen to trypsin, pepsinogen to pepsin, procarboxypeptidase to carboxypeptidase, proelastase to elastase, procollagen to collagen. Here in this, pepsinogen is an enzyme which can undergo autoactivation. That is, enzyme can inactivate itself. Procaspase to caspase, which is an enzyme which will be involved in during apoptosis. Prothrombin to thrombin and fibrinogen to fibrin during clotting pathway. There is a coagulation pathway. What is the significance of enzyme production as zymogens is that it helps to prevent the autocatalytic damage of cellular components, and it helps in mobilization of enzyme within the cell, and it can be converted to active forms where and when it is needed, and it can be stored for a longer time as the inactive precursor form, and half-life is usually more than the active enzyme. Half-life of zymogens are basically more than its active counterparts. Fourth category is feedback regulation. So what is feedback regulation? In allosteric regulation, we have seen feedback inhibition. There is a total different entity as compared to this feedback regulation. It is a type of enzyme activity regulation. What happens here, the end product of an enzyme pathway will directly inhibit the synthesis of concerned enzyme by interfering with the gene. That is, in feedback inhibition, it is acting at the level of metabolic pathway. Here what happens, the end product will inhibit the gene transcription at the genetic level. So enzyme is not directly inhibited by the end product. Rather, enzyme is inhibited from being synthesized anew. So we will not have the new enzyme for the metabolic pathway to happen. Best example for this feedback regulation is production of HMG coenzyme reductase enzyme by dietary cholesterol. Fifth category is isoenzymes. What are isoenzymes and how isoenzymes regulate enzymatic activity? Again, it is not a direct method of enzyme regulations. So we all know that isoenzymes are enzymes with which catalyze the same chemical reaction, but they differ in their physical properties. So they have different kinetic parameters, Km values, that is the affinity of the enzyme towards the substrate, maximal velocity, initial velocity varies. So again, they differ in their tissue distribution. So mammalian lactate dehydrogenase is a classic example for isoenzyme. It is a tetramer which is made up of two subunits, A subunit and B subunit. So it is existing in 5 different forms based on permutation combination of tetrameric association of A and B subunit. That is A4, A3B1, A2B2, A1B3, and B4. So kinetic parameters of all these isoforms will vary, and different tissues will express different isoenzymes, which are depending upon their metabolic needs. Now we'll move to what are the models of enzyme mechanism. Lock and key model. It is proposed by Emil Fischer. It assumes that active site of an enzyme is rigid in shape. So once the substrate molecule will come and bind to the active site of the enzyme, there is no reversibility of the reaction. So there is no change in the active site before and after the chemical reaction. Whereas induced fit model, which was proposed by Daniel Postland in 1950. According to this, exposure of enzyme to the substrate will induce a conformational change in the enzyme, which causes the active site to change its shape to enable the enzyme and substrate to bind properly. Okay, so here you can see there is the substrate after binding to the active site is inducing change in it and making the active site more favorable for further substrate binding. So pharmaceutical importance. So I think maybe we can cover enzyme inhibition in our next class. So, thank you.